I did. I planned a vacation after my wife had passed away.
Okay.
I thought it'd be great to have some family time together. I told my son I would pay for the rental of the Airbnb in Captiva in Florida. He agreed to that.
How much was the Airbnb amount?
The Airbnb amount was $3,376.43.
Oh, the exact amount you're suing for.
That's
all
correct.
Right, nothing
that
more.
was for the 1 week.
All right, you have the receipt for that.
I do.
Let me see it, please. And so you said, hey, I think we should all go on a trip. I'm going to pay for it.
That's correct. A family get-together.
A family get-together.
Yes.
To just kind of bond and reconnect after the unfortunate death of your wife. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And so you just needed some time to decompress.
Correct.
I do understand that.
Yes.
And so who was coming on this trip?
I was going on the trip. My son, his wife Sharon, their 3 kids. I also brought along a friend.
Okay.
Mary Ann.
Oh no! You're not about to tell me that after the death of his wife, your son's mother, on a family trip to reconnect with the family, you brought a new woman? No way. Oh my gosh, it just got piping hot.
All right, and so, Mr. Brown, to the son, this is your wife standing with you, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so when your dad said, I think we need to just take a minute to decompress, go on a vacation, right? What was your response to that?
I thought it was a really wonderful idea at first and a nice gesture, and I agreed to it with my wife and my family. But when we got to the house in Florida, he had brought a guest that we were not told about, and her behavior was not appropriate for the children.
Wait a minute. What was your understanding?
My
Who was going
understanding
on
was
the trip?
just our family.
Just dad?
Just
you,
dad,
your wife?
Wife, and 3 kids.
And you guys have 3 kids?
Yes.
Okay, what are their ages?
2 5-year-olds and a 3-year-old.
2, 5, and 3. Wow, you all are busy. So, and what was this? This was an Airbnb. Was it like a house, an apartment? What was it like?
It was a house.
So you get there and you say, immediately you see a guest that you didn't think was invited.
He hadn't mentioned it, but when we got to the place, he started talking about, like, I brought a friend, and we were surprised.
And you'd never met this friend?
No, we have never met this friend before.
And so who was the friend, Mr. Brown?
Her name's Mary Ann.
All right.
I met her a short time before going on this excursion with the family.
Oh, a short time before.
And I realized my wife had passed away. I was mourning my wife, but I fell in love with Mary Ann.
Wait, I thought you said she was a friend.
I called it. He brought another woman to a trip that was meant to celebrate or bring the family together after his wife's death. That is crazy. He seems so nonchalant too in the beginning about saying, oh, after my wife's death. He seems so like unbothered by it. This is really troublesome to me.
Well, she's a friend. I thought that they would welcome her into the family. She's a friend. And to be very honest with you, Judge, I had asked her to marry me.
Oh, Lord, this ain't no friend. This is a fiance.
Okay, fiance. But she's a very nice person. She has a good job. We fell in love.
To the son, Mr. Brown, did he introduce Mary Ann as his fiance, or did he say friend the way he introduced her in court?
It was friend at the time, and I do now know that they are engaged, but that's not what it was while we were out there in Florida. It was a friend at the time.
He was calling her a friend. Mm-hmm. And so how long after your mom's passing was this trip?
It's about 4 months.
So about 4 months after her passing is when you went on this trip, and then the friend came.
Yes.
So, Mr. Brown, is it your testimony that the truth was you really had already fallen in love and asked her to marry you, or did you ask her to marry you after the trip?
Oh, no, I had already asked her to marry me.
Oh.
And I just thought I didn't want to just come right out and say, this is, Mary Ann, my fiance. I wanted to kind of build towards that.
And how long were you and your wife married before she passed?
We were married for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And we
long
had an excellent marriage. There were no problems. My son was a little bit distant from me for the last few years of the marriage. I don't know why.
So now, if you brought the friend, and even though you weren't being completely forthright as to the nature of the relationship, and that kind of evolved throughout the trip, why are you suing your son for the cost of the trip?
Well, I can tell you exactly why I'm suing my son. It's because from the get-go, as soon as they met Mary Ann, they didn't like her from the very start. They looked at her. She's younger than I am. She's in her late 20s.
And how old are you?
I'm 62.
Okay.
Oh! I was not expecting that. I was picturing a woman around his age. He's 62. She's in her late 20s. He says late 20s. How much you want to bet? She's like 26 or 27. She's like early late 20s. You know what I'm saying? He's just trying to push it. Maybe she's 29. Oh my gosh. The tea is boiling over at this point. It's done being piping hot.
I got you a young one.
But
All right.
But I think love is love, and I don't know why they have a problem with that. Right away, they made her feel very uncomfortable. They gave her dirty looks. They called her names, very inappropriate names that some I can't even say. In
Were
front
you
of
calling her names, Mr. Brown?
Nothing that wasn't appropriate in the moment. I mean, my wife and I were very upset by the things that she was doing. I mean,
What was
It was-
happening, Ms. Brown? Feel free to jump in. What did you observe?
So when we met Mary Ann, she was already drunk.
Oh,
So her behavior made me feel very uncomfortable with keeping the kids around her. I felt that she was a hazard to their health. And so
what did you observe her doing?
she was smoking cigarettes. And when I asked her not to smoke around the children because they were young,
That was one
she blew the
cigarette. It
cigarette
was one
smoke in
cigarette.
my
That's all
son's
it takes.
face.
In your son's face?
Yes,
No.
to show me that she, I don't know.
Did
She
you
also-
see that, Mr. Brown? Her blowing smoke in your grandson's face?
She was in our bedroom at the Airbnb.
You were not
At the
there.
nice house. We're in the bedroom. She lights a cigarette up. The grandkids come running in the room just as she was exhaling. And the next thing
and
that
they
happens,
run into the smoke.
they ran into the smoke. The next thing, she's giving Mary Ann and myself a lecture about the hazards of secondhand smoke that must have gone on for 15 minutes.
He was not in the room when she blew smoke in my son's face. This was another instance. She was also smoking weed in the house. She had a
Smoking
little
weed
vape.
too?
Yes, she had one of the
No.
vape cartridges.
Oh, she had a vape?
And she was also, when we went out to the beach, she wore nipple covers and a thong in front of my children.
No.
Oh, boy.
Oh my god. If this is all true, that is insane. I have a theory that the father is hurting and this is his own way of coping with this lost relationship. What do you guys think? I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know.
Yeah. I have 2 daughters and I
had
have
a
a
bikini.
little boy. That's just not appropriate.
And so, wait, Mr. Brown, now you're dating somebody younger. You know, we don't need to judge that. But does she know how to act respectable around the children? That seems a little vague.
She likes kids. She's great with kids.
It's not about liking him, it's knowing how to behave around
She
him.
knew how to act. We were going to a beach. Mary Ann was wearing a bikini. She's very attractive. She probably wanted to, just.
So you also felt like the bikini wasn't appropriate, but you just didn't want to say anything to her. Or you said you thought it was
Oh,
appropriate.
I had no problem with it.
I bet you did.
Not.
I was just about to say the same thing. I bet you didn't have a problem with this bikini. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so what happened? I don't understand. So this I can already see this dynamic is kind of throwing off the decompression that's supposed to be happening here. We're supposed to be in this house relaxing, trying to heal from the death of mom and wife. And now we've got Mary Ann. She's adding a little bit of something to the mix that I don't think your kids expected.
They are exaggerating greatly Mary Ann's behavior. And so
Okay, let me just be honest and let's just get to the point. Everybody grieves in their own way. You wouldn't be the first nor the last man that finds comfort under the covers with somebody else. But that does not mean that your children are ready to process all of that. And even though your son is a grown man with a wife and with grandkids, this is still a very, very difficult time in all of your lives losing your wife, their mother, well, her mother-in-law. Ultimately, what I think is interesting is that while you keep saying they owe you because I agreed to pay for the trip and they were going to pay for the activities, bring an entire person along that was not a part of the original conversation literally changes the dynamic of the entire trip.
I didn't see a problem with that.
Well, of course you didn't because she was your guest and she's your fiance. I don't think that that was the appropriate time for you to bring your new fiance to meet your son, his wife, and your grandkids. I think your judgment was off. And I also believe that you never formed a true contract here. What you did was offer a gift of a trip, right? And even if it were, when you bring Mary Ann into the picture, deal's off. Because you never mentioned that in the first place. I've heard enough. Plaintiff, Mr. Brown, your case is dismissed. A judgment for the defendant. Court is adjourned.
All rise.
Yep, I 100% agree with this. I think the father is completely out of line when he, under the guise of a trip to reconnect as a family after the death of his mother, to bring another woman, first of all, just another woman, okay? Even if she was like his age, that's just wrong. And then the fact that she is like over 30 years younger than him, and then is also smoking and like wearing inappropriate clothes in front of the kids, it is a huge misstep by him. What do you guys think about the judgment? Do you think it was too much, too little, or just right? I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know. Love ya.